Well, as I travel across the state, most of my friends know that I very seldom pass up visiting a garden center, and I always try to look at some of the new things. And as I've traveled and looked at new things, I've kind of introduced a source back to this nursery. And hi, Gary.
Nice to meet you, Steve.
Hi,
Glad y'all could come by.
Thank you. Gary Walgren is with the Green Thumb Nursery and Greenhouses. And Gary, tell us, now you're a little bit wholesale and retail both, right? How does that work?
Right. We have both a retail garden center and a wholesale production greenhouse. So that gives us a little bit of an in into new things, you know, before they sometimes will get to the retail level.
And that's how I've tracked you down, I guess, because when I go to a retail nursery, you've actually sold them the plants wholesale, and so it's nice to meet you in person.
Yeah.
And we're going to actually show the viewers some new perennials that you're kind of working with and a few annuals. And let's go ahead and start with this one right here in the front. Tell us about these and some of their comparisons.
Okay, these front two here, the taller one here and the short one, are in the Saponaria family, and there's a third Saponaria which we didn't have to demonstrate that is more commonly known. That's a spring bloomer with little tiny pink flowers. But these are two real exciting perennials, I think, for our area, in that they're heat tolerant and they will tolerate a lot of our dryness as well. And they are summer blooming varieties. This one here is called Max Frey, and it's a prostrate variety. It's getting ready to bloom. And this one here is a Flora plena, and it will get up probably to about 2.5 feet. And it's remarkably similar to the tall phlox, which we have right here, a variety of the tall summer phlox, they're called. And this variety happens to be one of the hybrids that is very mildew resistant, because the tall phlox family is very prone to mildew. But these are in the called maculata series, and they have a real shiny leaf, is how you can tell them apart. And very good performers. They bloom for a good 6 weeks in the summertime, and these Saponarias are supposed to perform all summer.
Well, that's the ones I'm most familiar with, were the more prostrate, so I was very excited to see an upright, and as you know, I did guess it as a phlox, so it's very similar, except this one kind of has more of a double flower.
Flower's a little more frilly.
Very nice introduction there. Now this is one that some people have been familiar with to an extent too, haven't they? The
Scabiosas is what this group is here, and we've actually got 4 different varieties. This one called Fama, which unfortunately the flowers are not showing their full effect. It's kind of more of a bluish lavender, and it's the more commonly known variety. This year we trialed 2 other varieties, a little more lacy foliage on this one, and a little more of a rounded flower head, kind of more in the pure purple tone. And then this one here was another variety, a little more blue in that. And this is the one that I'm real excited about. It goes under the name Nadia Macedonia, but it is in the Scabiosa family, and it's supposed to get up about 3 feet high and bloom from about mid-June to early July all summer long. And it's got a real brilliant wine.
A perennial that's going to come
All these are very hardy perennials.
Okay.
As far as winter hardiness, there shouldn't be any problem as long as there's well-drained soil is the key.
And you know, perennials offer more than just flowers a lot of times. For example, with the Artemisia, which I think people are becoming more familiar, but this one is a little bit unique too, isn't it?
This is a brand new variety, at least as far as we're concerned. People are probably familiar with the common variety is the Silver Mound. It's more commonly known, but there's been recent introductions that have come out, like Silver Brocade and the Palace Castle. This one here is called Silver Frost, and it's got the real lacy foliage. But unlike some of the other ones, it stays more compact. It'll only grow about 15 inches high, and it does have the traditional aromatic foliage that a lot of the Artemisias do have. It looks like it's going to be a good one after it gets filled out.
Now this is probably a good place to point out too that perennials, after so long in the container, the specimen may not look that wonderful as far as, you know, displaying everything. But as you're hearing all the time, and I'm hearing, when people put them in the ground and at least give them 2 years, that's when they reach their maximum maturity, and that's when you get your best display. So they've got to be patient.
People buying a new perennial needs to kind of look towards the next year for the really full effect, because first year is not going to look like a whole lot, and the flower power is not going to be there, but just wait until the 2nd and 3rd year it really gets going.
Well, and as you can imagine, being restricted in a container, they don't always display as nicely there. Now this one I was really surprised with, because I was familiar with a lobelia that's a cool season annual.
Right.
That doesn't like the hot sun and kind of dies out on us. Now you're telling me this one's what?
Well, this is a Lavania Ricciardi, and we're really uncertain about this, but the information we're receiving is that it is a true perennial lobelia, and it is prostrate, and the flower is real similar in habit to the Crystal Palace. It's not as dark of purple, but flower is almost exactly identical in shape. This one, from just observing it, runs real rapidly on the ground and does root down as it performs. So,
well, since lobelia is normally known for a cool season plant too, like the annual early spring, late fall or whatever, is this full sun plant?
That's what we're hearing. Of course, we're going to trial it out that way. We might find, because sometimes we get people saying, yeah, full sun, and that may be true in northern climates, but here in Oklahoma, no. Of course, the traditionally known perennial lobelia is the cardinal flower type, which grows quite large and doesn't even look anything like these.
I've even heard this one will do well in a water garden.
Right, it's a great bog plant, so it can actually stand in shallow water.
Well, let's go on over here and see what else we have, Gary. Now this is, of course it's pronounced different ways, Heuchera or Heuchera. This is a traditional one, but how about up here in front?
Well, this front one is also, I would consider it a traditional type of coral bells, and the green foliage is the same. However, the flower on this one, this is a variety, newer introduction called Torch. And it's a little bit smaller flower, but real intensely bright red. I wish we had one of the traditional or more commonly known coral bells to show you the contrasting color. But very, very deep red, and I think it's going to be a real good performer. And of course, this is the All-American Award winner called Palace Purple with the dark foliage.
Perennial plant of the year.
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
Well, Gary, our time's getting short. Let's go on and talk about some that are not really perennials. This is Mandevilla.
Mandevilla Atlas DuPont, which has been around and gotten a lot of popularity in recent years. It's a good summer annual vine, and this is a variety, and I'm sorry I don't remember the actual name of it, but it is a real beautiful white lavender flower, and inside the throat it looks like a five-pointed white star in there.
A little bit more shrubby, it looks like.
It's a little glossier. It's more related to the yellow mandevillas.
And then the last one here, the copper plant's one we've used often at the studio gardens, and now we're seeing a little bit of variation with more of a strap-like leaf. So again, more of a foliage plant for an annual selection versus something flower. Now, how in the world do you find out about new introductions and new plants?
Well, what I do is every year when the salesmen come around or the new catalogs come out, I ask what's new, or even sometimes it's not in the catalog, but they have new varieties that they're willing to let go. And I recommend to the people at the retail level to do the same thing. If you know varieties of plants that you've read about, go in and ask for them by name. Sometimes they may not be available, right the next year, but I think the thing to do is go in and just ask what's new, and do that ahead of the season even.
Right, like in the fall, before the next
year. What are you going to have next year?
And truly, a lot of it is demand too, and carrying. So if they don't carry it, ask them to carry it. And we appreciate you inviting us up here in Bartlesville to see a very nice selection, Gary. And good luck to you in the future.
Thank you.